Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. So those of you who don't know, I've started a new channel, and make sure you go onto that channel and subscribe. It's not a big job. All you have to do is subscribe, and if you can, do me a favor and watch the videos on it as well. That'll really help the channel grow. And if you can watch the videos, there's a lot of videos on that channel that's not on this one. So make sure you go in there and check some of those videos out. They're very good, by the way. And yeah, I just want you guys to start heading over and subscribe to that new channel. And as soon as that new channel is monetized, I'm going to be posting most of my videos on that one. So I'm doing, at the moment, this channel is monetized and the new one is not. So I'm doing a part 1 and part 2. So it's just there to remind people to move over to the new channel once you see the video. So without further ado, guys, let's start the show. So in today's channel, I'm going to be talking about President Trump and how he's basically put the GCC countries under the bus. So I'll be discussing that today. And I'll be discussing Bang Bang Marcos, who has confirmed that Philippines will get involved in any conflict with the province of Taiwan. And here is President Trump again denying, because there was a FT article today, FT Financial Times article in the British, it's a British newspaper, and in the Financial Times article it said in one of the front pages that President Xi told Putin, or President Xi told Trump that Putin made a mistake by invading Ukraine and blah blah blah, how Xi's gonna stab Putin in the back and all these fake news, guys. So Trump has basically denied it. He says President Xi never said that. So again, FT is basically posting some fake news. So I'll be talking about that as well. I'll be talking about the British HS2. The costs have gone up to 102 billion. And I'm going to be talking about that. And that's all in part 1. In part 2 of the video, which is going to be on my new channel, I'm going to be discussing Scott Bessent here trying to force himself into a meeting, and the Chinese security guards have stopped him. And I'm going to be talking about Putin's trip to China, what it means, what's going to be happening, and I'm going to be comparing that with Trump's arrival versus Putin's arrival. So I'll be talking that, but this is going to be on part 2, guys. So make sure you log on to part 2 to see that video. So let's start with this story here. So President Trump sent a tweet out saying that he was ready to attack Iran, and it was the GCC countries that stopped him. So those of you who know, President Trump has been saying a lot of stuff over the last 6 months. He's been tweeting so many stuff, it really is difficult to understand whether he means it or he's joking or he's gonna tackle like he always does. Very difficult to basically predict. For example, he's been saying he's going to attack Iran for God knows how many months, since the fighting has stopped. He's been sending out tweets saying he's going to destroy Iranian civilization. Then a few days later he tacos. He says, oh, we're having very good negotiations and Pakistan stopped me from attacking Iran. Then it just goes, it's like a yo-yo. Then he says he's going to attack Iran again. Then he says he's having very good negotiations. This is all him trying to make money from the stock market, because he knows what he's going to say and he knows how the stock market will react. If it's very hawkish and he wants to have a war with Iran, all the stock starts going down and the oil prices goes up. So he tells his sons or his friends, right, I'm going to send this tweet out. Make sure you, put money on the stock market, or make sure you put money on the oil price. And he's been doing that for the past few months, and it's very, very easy money for him. He's been making God knows how many billions from this. So nothing's new, guys. He's been saying he's going to attack Iran, and Iran is just there preparing, because they know, most likely there is an attack coming. So they are not saying anything back. They are preparing. They cannot trust Trump on his word. One day he says, we're having very good negotiations. Next day he could attack Iran. You just don't know. He'll just do anything sneaky. Any chance he gets, he'll do whatever people ask him to. So yeah, Iran cannot trust him. They have to kind of just prepare and carry on doing things as they normally would. Ignore what Trump says. Trump is obviously doing it to make money from the stock market, and but saying that, I do believe that they will attack Iran at some point. I do believe that. You just have to look at all the military movements that's going on. You just have to look at the language that's being used by Trump and all of his administration. You just have to look at some of the news articles coming out of Israel, for example. So everything is pointing to another attack on Iran. And also the negotiations are not going very well. They are miles away from each other, miles away. Iranian demands and American demands are miles apart. So I doubt they'll come to some sort of agreement. And just to let you know, guys, the JCPOA, which was negotiated when Obama was in power, took 2 years of negotiation to eventually sign the JCPOA. So Trump suddenly thinks that he can sign a deal within days. Impossible. This is the same Trump who said he's going to end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. You cannot believe a word that he says. It's all BS, guys. It's all BS. Anyway, this time, rather than blaming Pakistan, he basically put the GCC countries under the bus. He says, under discussions with Saudi Arabia, Dubai, and Kuwait, and Qatar, and Bahrain, he decided not to attack Iran. Apparently there was an attack that was supposed to be happening today or tomorrow. So under consultations with them, he decided not to attack. So if you were Iranian, this could mean two things. Number one, Trump is lying, and the GCC countries, actually, a couple of them came out and denied it. They said we had no such discussions with Trump. We didn't have any of these discussions with Trump. So he's basically making it up. Or number two, they are having discussions behind the scenes, which means that the GCC countries are very much involved in the planning of attacking Iran. They might not be ready to attack Iran now, but this tells us that the GCC countries are talking to Israel, they are talking to Trump behind the scenes, and they are making plans how to attack Iran. And maybe they said that, they are not ready in terms of their defenses, or something along those lines. So they said maybe now is not a good time to attack. Let us sort out our defenses first, then you can attack. So it could be one of those two things. Trump could be lying, or number two, there could be some negotiations behind the scenes, and maybe the time is not ready for them to attack Iran just yet. Either way, Iran knows these GCC countries are all puppets anyway. They have literally no sovereignty, guys. No sovereignty whatsoever. And Dubai especially, they are... this war with Iran has really made the GCC countries... the world has realized what great puppets they are of the West. All these years people thought, yeah, the GCC countries, they must have some sort of sovereignty, but I think this war with Iran, it has proved to the world that these GCC countries have literally no sovereignty whatsoever. And countries like the UAE, for example, they are absolute puppets of the West, of Israel and of America. And it makes sense as well, because when you go to Dubai, you cannot wear a t-shirt with the with the Palestinian flag in it, or like a watermelon flag in it. You get arrested in Dubai, and same thing happens in Saudi Arabia. And this was during the GCC. This was during that time, and I was there as well, I must admit, so they basically arrested me for wearing a t-shirt that had the Palestinian flag in it. And it's happened to a lot of my friends as well, and a lot of my friends actually went to Saudi Arabia for Hajj as well, and they also got arrested because they wore the Palestinian flag. And it all makes sense now. It all makes sense why people are getting arrested for wearing Palestinian flags, because these countries, they all support Israel. They might not admit it in front of the press, but their action shows that they support Israel, and they are completely owned by Israel. It also makes sense why UAE has become very, very rich in a very short time. It's not just the oil, and it's not just the slave labor. A lot of money has gone into Dubai over the years, and it's money from a certain group of people, Jays, I'm not going to say the full name, certain group of people, special chosen ones apparently. So this group of people, they have been collecting money throughout century using usury practices. So those of you who don't know what usury practices are, these are compound interest. And usury is banned in Islam. It's also banned in Christianity, but they use in Christian countries, mainly because most of the banks in the Christian countries are owned by these special group of people, or some may say Jays. I can't say the full name because you know why, guys. And so these special group of people, they basically, they can enrich a country by giving them loans, putting investments in there, which obviously they have to pay back. Same thing has happened to America. They've given America a lot of cash injection, a lot of money. And this is one of the reasons why America is in such debt. The Fed is owned by these certain group of people. The whole monetary policy is owned by them, all the banks, all the businesses, companies like BlackRock, all the social media, all the media, all the television, film, Hollywood, literally everything is literally owned by them. So they could pretty much control a lot of what goes on in Western countries. And those of you who know about usury, if you these certain group of people have been lending money to countries, to companies, to individuals throughout, history. And this is why they got kicked out of so many countries. They got kicked out of 109 countries. And mainly because of the usury practices, but also for other reasons as well, sacrifices and many other things that they're doing, very dark things. And so they've been collecting money throughout the centuries, and these usury practices is making them a lot of money, because if you pay interest on these loans that they are giving out to countries and stuff, we are talking trillions and trillions and trillions. They are basically building up in terms of interest. And this is why they love wars as well. They love wars because when countries go to war, they have to borrow a lot of money, and they tend to borrow a lot of money from these special group of people. And also what you find is these special group of people, they fund both sides throughout history. They've been funding, for example, during the Iraq-Iran war in the 1980s, they have been known to fund Iraq as well as Iran as well, because it's in their interest for these Muslim countries to fight and kill each other. So it's in their interest. So what they tend to do is they provide money, they provide weapons to both the countries. And throughout history, you know, they've been pushing for wars, and they get countries to fight each other. They borrow money from them, and they basically become in debt with them, and they become slaves. And this is why a lot of Western countries are literally slaves to them. Obviously, one of the reasons why. So let's not talk too much into it, but you kind of get the idea, guys. So they have put a lot of money into Dubai, these certain group of people, over the years. And this is why Dubai has grown very, very fast, despite Dubai not having a manufacturing sector, despite Dubai not having any source of special skills. You know, the only thing Dubai had was oil. And if you look at Dubai's economy, oil is only like 5% of the economy. The rest of it is tourism and, you know, obviously other things like AI and stuff like that. But manufacturing is not something that they do in Dubai. So they've put a lot of money into Dubai over the years. And the reason is, you know, so Dubai can be bought. They can be, you know, literally puppets or vassal states of the West, and this whole Iran war has proved how much of a vassal that Dubai is to Israel and to the West. And guys, all this fake money in Dubai, it's just fake, guys. It really is. You know, it's like a house of cards. You know, it can be easily toppled, because 80%, 90% of Dubai people are foreigners. They have no kind of loyalty or any affiliation to the country. They have no love for the country. They're just there to work. Dubaians, if you work in Dubai, if you live in Dubai, you pay no tax, and so they go there for the tax benefits. Also, it's a life of luxury. There's a lot of OnlyFans models there, and they obviously do other things apart from OnlyFans, which I'm not gonna also go into. It's very, very dark, guys. Very dark place, and they pretend they're a Muslim country, but they're not. You know, they do some very dark, shady stuff in Dubai. Very dark, shady stuff. You know, obviously there are other channels discussing it. I'm not going to discuss that here, but you can do some research. There's some very, very dark, shady stuff happens in Dubai. And they call themselves a Muslim country, but they're not really Muslim. They don't. You know, apart from a few people in Dubai that actually practice Islam, the rest of the people are just, they don't. They're foreigners. They go there to work or for tax benefits. They go there for other things. A lot of women are there for certain reasons, and it's a very, very dark place for a Muslim country. And Iran is pretty much, has shown Dubai to be what it is. They are basically puppets of the West. They are literally complete slaves of the West. They are more scared of Trump and Israel than they are scared of Allah, their God. So when I say their God, guys, I mean, I don't mean any disrespect. I don't think that they are real Muslims. That's why I say it's their God, because whoever they're praying to, I don't think it's the Allah that real Muslims pray to. I think they have a completely different religion. It's not Islam, and I know this because the proof is there, guys. When the King of Jordan was traveling to UAE during Ramadan, and there's pictures and videos of them sitting down and eating, drinking, having a good time during Ramadan. This was while real Muslims are fasting and not eating or drinking during Ramadan. These leaders are just eating and drinking in front of everyone, the press. They don't care. They probably do other things as well during Ramadan. These people are not Muslim. I don't know who they pray to, but it's definitely not Allah, which is the Muslim God. I think they probably pray to Baal or some other evil entity. It's definitely not Allah. So these people, they don't they don't pray, they don't do fasting like everyone else does. I think they are completely they're fake Muslims. That's what I'm trying to say. They have completely sold their souls to Israel and to the West. They have given up their sovereignty, they have given up their military, their finance, they have given everything to the West. All of the money that they make, basically goes to America or goes to Israel to enrich them. The same with Saudi Arabia as well, because what they do, they sell oil in dollars. So whoever buys oil in dollars, what they do with the dollars, they basically buy American treasury bonds, they buy stocks, they invest in they basically invest in American companies or British companies. For example, in the UK we have Emirates, who are basically bought Manchester City, who are sponsoring Manchester City basically. So they basically invest in countries and football clubs and companies abroad rather than their own countries. Obviously things are changing now. I think they are investing a lot more into their own countries, but it's a very small amount compared to the amount of money they're investing abroad. So this makes them wage slaves as well. So if they get sanctioned, for example, if they get sanctioned like Iran is getting sanctioned, all of that money that they have poured into these Western countries will just disappear. That's what happens when you sanction someone. All of your assets get taken away. So it's very, very dangerous to invest in America, invest in other countries abroad. You can just tell that to Russia. Even Russians like Abramovich are not safe. Abramovich is he's not even he's not even like friends with Putin as well. He ran away from Russia. And he decided to stay in Britain, and he put a lot of money into Chelsea Football Club, helped them win lots of trophies. He also put a lot of money into the local area, into schools and hospitals. So he's been doing a lot for Britain. But as soon as Russia basically started their special military operation, Britain basically kicked out a lot of Russian oligarchs from UK, took their assets, stole their assets, and forced Abramovich to sell the football club. Same thing will happen. Same thing to happen to all these GCC Gulf Arabs. A day will come when they will be sanctioned and all of their assets will be stripped, and America will just take it all. It will happen soon, guys. So the point is, these GCC countries, they are very, very dependent on the West. They are dependent on them financially, they are dependent on them militarily, because all of their military bases are American military bases, and all the equipment are American equipment. all the anti-aircraft missile systems like PAC, THAAD, all American systems. So America controls everything. They control the airspace, they control the weapons. For example, when Qatar was having a meeting, I believe, with some Hamas leaders, then Israel basically managed to sneak past all the air defenses and bomb Qatar. And these planes managed to fly all the way from Israel, avoid all the air defenses, bomb Qatar, then fly all the way back. Do you see what I mean? These are American controlled air defenses. So they control what goes in, what goes out. You know, obviously they've seen these Israeli jets, and Israel probably told America, do not fire, you know, and they just ignored them. They just ignored the Israeli jets. Let the Israeli jets bomb Qatar and let them leave. No problems. And this is what happens when you lose your sovereignty, when you lose your airspace, and you literally have no defense whatsoever. America basically controls who attacks you and who doesn't. So that's just one example, guys. The other example is, they're using their bases and airspace to attack Iran. And these Gulf countries, they can say or do nothing. They can't even stand up and say to America, yo, stop using our airspaces and bases to attack another Muslim country. They don't condemn it, guys. None of them condemn it. None of these leaders, stand up and just condemn what Israel do, what America do. Instead, they go to the UN and blame Iran. That's what they do. They don't blame Israel. They don't blame America. They blame Iran for firing back. When they know that, America or Israel would do exactly the same thing in their situation. For example, if Hezbollah used Jordanian land to fire missiles into Israel, what do you think Israel is going to do? They're going to bomb Jordan to hell. These Gulf countries, they are very, very vulnerable to Iranian missiles. Iran has actually been taking it easy on them. But if they really wanted to destroy them, they would destroy all the salination plants, water salination plants, because water provides Saudi Arabia 80-90% comes from salination plants. Same with UAE. Iran can destroy all of their salination plants. They can destroy all of their power systems. And if you destroy the power systems, the desert heat is very, very hot. In Dubai, it's very hot. Dubai is very hot in Saudi Arabia. So if you destroy all of their power systems, people will have no air conditioning. So people will be roasting. They will be roasting in their houses. And you will see people leaving these countries. If there's no water, no power, it gets extremely hot, they will be leaving, and you will see a population drop from in Dubai from what it is now to maybe 80% drop. And these people will never come back, because these are not Emirati people. These are all foreigners who go to Dubai to make money, not to pay tax and things like that, and they will not come back, guys. So they're very vulnerable, these Gulf countries, all of them. They don't control the airspace. They don't control their own military. They don't control their own finances. They are absolutely vulnerable to the West and to Israel. And Iran knows that. Iran is the only sovereign country in that region. Despite heavy sanctions for 50 years, Iran has still managed to build a very good military. You must give Iran a lot of due respects. Even I believe Trump respects Iran, and the West respects Iran. They might not like Iran, but I'm sure they absolutely respect Iran for standing up against the United States and Israel as well. And the fact that they have got a very good military that they have been building despite years of sanctions. So instead of building all these sky-high Burj Khalifas in Iran, all these silly buildings you got in Dubai, all these 7-star hotels, all these luxury items, instead of all of that, Iran has been spending their money wisely on security, on manufacturing, having their own factories to build their own drones, build their own missiles, having underground bases that cannot be blown up easily. That's what Iran has been focusing on, because everybody knows if you are a country, security comes first, sovereignty comes first. You cannot have sovereignty if you have no security. Like look what happened to Venezuela. They thought they were sovereign, but all it took is one they just kidnapped Maduro and suddenly the country is a puppet again. They basically become a puppet overnight without firing a single shot. America firing a single shot. They have taken over the oil industry, and so that Venezuelan country, they thought they were sovereign, but they're not. The only reason is because they don't have the security, they don't have the military to defend themselves. But Iran has, if you want to be a sovereign country, you need to be able to defend yourself. And this is what China has done. They built nuclear weapons, they built their own military without any help from outside. All these Chinese weapons that you see, it's all built in-house. They don't get parts from other countries because you're basically dependent on another country. China doesn't want to do that. Same with Russia. And the same with Iran. There's only a few countries in the world who are sovereign. Another one is North Korea. And again, North Korea has built its own nuclear missiles for their own security. And nobody touches them now. Everyone just leaves them alone. And now, if you see North Korea now, they are slowly developing now. And they are starting to look very, very nice now. North Korea, Pyongyang. These are really... North Korea is starting to develop now. It's looking very, very nice. But the first thing they had to do was make sure they can defend themselves. Make sure they have that security to defend their sovereignty. And that's what any country should do. Make sure you're sovereign first. Make sure you can defend your sovereignty. Then you can build nice skyscrapers and high-speed rails and, all these... AI data centers and all these fancy things. But first, security and sovereignty comes first before everything. Because if you're a puppet, if you're a slave to the West, if you're a slave to Israel, and you're not sovereign, then basically you've lost your soul, guys. What is the point? What is the point of having money if you have no soul? Talking of no souls, this guy, Bong Marcos, he has given up totally Filipinos' sovereignty. The last guy in Filipinos' leadership was actually quite good, Duterte. He was pushing Philippines to be more sovereign. He was saying no to more military bases to the US. He was moving away from the US and moving closer to China and becoming more sovereign. But this guy comes in. Filipinos, most of them voted him in, by the way. And this guy made a comment today. He said that Philippines will have no choice but to join in any future war with the province of Taiwan. That's what he said. He says the Filipinos will have no choice. So let me tell you a little bit about Philippines. America once in their history, took over Philippines. They invaded Philippines. And the Filipinos fought with the Americans. Hundreds of thousands of Filipinos died as a result of that war with America. Hundreds of thousands, guys. And plus, many others died because of famine and, other, lack of medicine and many other, war-related issues, So what was the point of fighting America and gaining your freedom if you're still going to be absolute puppets to them? The Americans see the Philippines as bodies that they can throw at China. Same way they look at Ukraine as bodies they can throw at Russia. That's what they see the Filipinos as. Just meat, human meat to throw at China, as many as they can. Is this what the Filipinos voted for? A puppet who will do whatever the Americans want. And what was the point of fighting the Americans then? If you're still going to be slaves to the Americans, what was the point of fighting Americans? You might as well just not fought that war, and all these people would still be alive. You would still be a slave then. You're still a slave now. So what's the difference? There's no difference. You're basically, this guy is saying that Filipinos will die for America. And Japan. Even Japan invaded Philippines at one point and killed hundreds of thousands of Filipinos. But the same Filipinos now, they love Japan apparently. And they love America. So it just goes to show, America and Japan did the right thing colonizing Philippines. Because a few years later, the Philippines forget about history and they suddenly love you again. People are strange, guys. Brainwashing is real. Brainwashing is real, guys, in this world. So many people are just easily brainwashed. They don't look at history. They don't have any pride. They don't have any soul. They don't have any brains. Because Filipinos voted for this guy. He didn't, he's not a dictator. He didn't just came into power by himself. Filipinos put him in power. So they wanted this, guys. They wanted this. And the first thing he did when he came in, he added 5 or 6 military bases close to the province of Taiwan. That's the first thing he did. Absolute. I don't want to say how ridiculously low IQ he is, but he is, guys. Very low IQ. Very, very low IQ. Horrible leader, guys. So this is a funny story. The Financial Times came up with a story saying that, President Xi told Trump that that Putin was regretting. He said that Putin was regretting attacking Ukraine or something along those lines. And it was the front page of the Financial Times, and obviously that got pushed out in social media. Everybody was talking about it. And then a reporter raised it to Trump today, and they said, did President Xi tell you that? And Trump said, no, he didn't. He didn't say anything like that. And those of you who know President Xi and know China would know that China would never ever say anything like that. President Xi will never ever say anything like that. Because at the end of the day, this is not what China says, publicly, even privately. It just never happens throughout their history. You're talking about 5,000 year civilization. They have a lot of experience with diplomacy. And China is very, very careful what they say. Each word is very, very carefully planned and thought before they say something. And they just don't seem to understand it. And all these fake news people were, spreading it all over social media and stuff like that. So it took Trump to basically say the truth. And it made the Financial Times look extremely, extremely silly. This is supposed to be a very serious paper, the Financial Times. They made themselves look absolutely silly by coming out with a fake story. And it's not the first time they've done this. They do it all the time, guys. All the time they come out with fake stories. Fake stories about China, about Russia, about Iran. You know, they go along with whatever narrative there is, you know, whether it's China hating, Russia hating, Iran hating, they'll come up with some ridiculous stories. And yeah, Financial Times used to be a serious paper, but not anymore. There's no difference between the Financial Times and the Sun in UK. The only difference is that Sun has pictures of naked women in page 3 and the Financial Times doesn't. But the content is the same. All the stories are the same, pretty much. You know, you cannot take the British media seriously at all. This is why British people are so low IQ. Not every British people. Obviously, there are intelligent people in UK, but it's very, very, very small amount. I mean, you just have to look at the amount of people who, you know, voted for reform. You know, these are the same people who voted for Brexit, who thought that would solve all of Britain's problems. They thought, oh, let's get rid of all the Europeans and replace them all with the Indians. Let's see how that works. Very low IQ people, guys. Very low IQ people. So talking about low IQ and Britain, let me show you another story. So this is HS2 in Britain. And the latest figures is it's going to cost Britain 102.7 billion. It's going to cost HS2. And HS2 is a high-speed rail line that goes from London to Birmingham. And they cancelled Birmingham to Manchester because it's going to be too expensive. So it's only going to go from London to Birmingham. And the distance from London to Birmingham is about 100 miles, guys. Only 100 miles. And it's going to cost 102.7 billion. So let me give you some context. In China, the high-speed rail line between Shanghai and Beijing costs between 25 to 30 billion dollars. And I got this information from ChatGPT, by the way. And the other long railway line from Shenzhen to Beijing, obviously there is no direct line from Shenzhen to Beijing, so what happens is they have to go to Guizhou, I think it's Guangzhou they have to go to first, and then from there I think there might be a direct line to Beijing. I have to double check, guys, but I was checking the construction costs between Shenzhen to Guangzhou to Beijing, and the construction cost for that particular, you know, few set of lines costs between 60 to 70 billion dollars. So you have that line plus Beijing to Shanghai, which is 25 to 30 billion. That's 100 billion. And the total distance we are talking about, you know, the total distance from Shenzhen to Beijing is about 2,500 kilometers, and Beijing to Shanghai is another 1,500 kilometers approximately. So we're talking about 4,000 kilometers here, which costs 100 billion or so dollars. But in Britain, only 100 miles is about 120, 130 kilometers, is costing the same price for 102.7 billion. That just shows the context of how low IQ the British construction industry is. They would have saved a lot of money just giving this project to China. If they gave this project to China, China would have finished it in 1/10 of the budget. They would have done it in like 10 billion, maybe less. And the only reason they didn't want to give it to China is because they hate China. There's a very anti-Chinese sentiment in United Kingdom. They hate anything to do with China. And then, you know, it comes from the same anti-Chinese sentiment. It comes, you know, they have an anti-Russian sentiment. They have an anti-Muslim sentiment in UK. It all comes to racism, and also the fact that the British think they are better than everyone else. A lot of egos in Britain. These old timers, old boomers. And also they are puppets as well. You know, they're puppets of America and Israel. So they'll obviously do whatever they tell them to do. Absolutely crazy, guys. These numbers are absolutely crazy. I mean, this is probably going to bankrupt Britain. And for what? You know, only 100 miles to go from London to Birmingham. And I'll give you another stats, right? Currently it takes about 1 hour by train to go from London to Birmingham. 1 hour it takes. So this high-speed rail from London to Birmingham will take 40 minutes. So you are only saving 20 minutes to, you know, just for a 102 billion project, you are saving 20 minutes. So does that make sense to any of you guys? Just to save 20 minutes, Britain is going to, you know, spend 102 billion. This line is not even going to Manchester or Scotland originally planned. It's only going to Birmingham. What a waste of money, guys. What a waste of money and time. You know, for them to make this money back, they will have to charge, you know, HS2 from London to Birmingham. They will have to charge £1,000 per trip for 100 years for them to make this money back. No one's going to pay that. No one's even going to pay £100 per trip. They might as well just go on the slow train, which takes 1 hour. Absolutely ridiculous, guys. Absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, guys, that's the end of part 1. Hope you enjoyed it. Part 2, I'm going to upload it tomorrow. I'm going to talk about Scott Bessent, and I'm also going to be talking about Putin's trip to China. And I'm going to be comparing that to Trump's trip to China. So I will upload that tomorrow, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. So this is the end of part 1, and I'll see you next time, guys. And don't forget, join my new channel, subscribe, and watch some of the old videos. There's a lot of new videos that you probably haven't seen. So I really appreciate if you guys do that. And I'll see you guys shortly. Take care for now.